Baling twine is a common sight laying about the Nebraska landscape. It's not quite as common as beer cans and Walmart bags, but it's up there. These photos are a handful of the times I came across baling twine this past year. When left in the environment, it does not just disappear. This stuff is designed to withstand stress, water, insects, vermin, detergents, acid, and the sun. Carelessly discarded twine is a frequent nuisance for mowing crews, farm implement, and livestock. It is also a deadly hazard for osprey and other nesting birds, as well as big game animals, where it can get wrapped around their hooves, neck, antlers, or horns. Working as a biologist, I've experienced the ill effects of baling twine firsthand, with equipment entanglements and even having to euthanize wildlife. So I've made it an endeavor to pick up baling twine that I come across. I've started to upcycle material and incorporate it into flies that I tie. One of these flies has been very successful at catching carp, bass, panfish, pike, and trout. The tail, body wrap, and hackle are all baling twine, with minimal addition of other materials. It imitates a nymph or small crayfish. I've named it the Yeehaw Craw. It is eye-catching, very durable, brings excellent karma to the water, and promises to make things a little western. The focus of the Yeehaw Craw has been to step up to catching fish on repurposed material with eco-friendly and greener practices as the goal. Removing waste to create a long-lasting, reusable, effective product. This fly is my little contribution to the greater good, and by following the tutorial, you can give it a whirl too. Alright, here's how to tie the Yeehaw Craw. Start with your preferred hook. These are all good choices. We will use the Arex FW550 mini jig size 6. For thread, I recommend an orange color to match the twine. I've been using 6/0 uni thread, but slightly heavier thread prevents breaks. So secure your thread, then trim off the excess. Wrap a few more times to make a nice base for your eyes to grab onto. Tie in some 5/32 orange lead dumbbell eyes, and make sure to cross wrap and figure 8 wrap the thread to get your eyes good and secure. And then add a little Loon water-based head cement. This keeps the fly scent free and also locks in the thread. Then flip the hook over in the vise and advance your thread. Then grab some thin copper wire and tie it to the rear of the hook shank right at the beginning of the bend of the hook. Next, we'll grab some flashabou, select around 4 strands, and tie it in there at the rear. I trim these a little longer than the length of the hook shank. Next, you'll cut off a small section of your baling twine. I then use a Loon dubbing brush to roughen up one end of the twine. There's no need to be gentle, and I find brushing in a circular motion gets the fibers real gnarly. I measure this chunk of twine the length of the hook shank and then tie in the twine near the rear. Get it real secure. I then add some hairline life flex material in copper color. I find this adds a little fish catching appeal and a little bit of a different texture. Select one strand, double it over, then tie it in near the rear. And I cut the length about 1.5 times the length of the hook shank. Now grab some more baling twine. It doesn't matter if the piece is pretty or not.
Select a couple strands and peel them out of the main strand of twine. Give yourself a generous length. Lay the ends of the strands flat against the shank and tie them in near the rear. Once tied in, advance your thread a little beyond halfway, then wrap the twine forward. Wrap it like you would peacock herl, pheasant fibers, etc. Then tie off those strands of twine where you'd stopped your thread. Now grab your hairline copper live flex again. Select 2 or 3 strands of this copper live flex. 2 will make 4 legs, 3 will make 6. I like having 4 legs, it's easier to work with later. Once they're tied in, I cut the legs about 1 inch in length. Once cut, make sure the legs stick out perpendicular to the body and can adjust needed with your thread. Now advance your copper wire from earlier, wrapping the opposite direction that you wrapped your twine. This will help hold the twine a little stronger. Once you get the copper wire past the legs, then you can secure with thread. You can cut it off here, but I often wrap the twine and the wire all the way to the lead eyes. Be careful to avoid cutting your thread when cutting off your twine and wire. Once you get that done, now starts the fun part. Grab your baling twine again and cut off a length between 1 to 1 1/4 inch. After cut, you'll want to separate the individual twine fibers as much as possible. I find a loon dubbing pick starts this process well. Pick out both ends of the twine, then go to town again with a dubbing brush to loosen and roughen the twine. You'll then separate the individual strands of twine and drop it into a dubbing mixer. I use a Mr. Coffee coffee grinder for this. Once you get each individual strand kind of separated into your dubbing mixer, it's time to select a dubbing. I like Arizona Mega Semi-Seal and Canadian Brown. The Canadian Olive also looks awesome. Grab a healthy pinch and then add it to the twine fibers in the dubbing mixer. Don't go too hard with the mixer. A couple hits will get the twine and dubbing mixed nicely. Remove the mixture and separate some of the fibers. Gently line them up parallel to each other, with the twine fiber ends matching similarly in length. Once they are all kind of similar in length, pinch in the middle to make a bow tie shape. Place the middle of the bow tie shape centered onto the hook shank. Then do just a couple thread wraps in a crisscross pattern to secure the dubbing and twine fibers. Make sure to avoid the legs, then do a couple securing wraps in front of the dubbing. Now get the rest of your dubbing mixture and do the same thing that we just did on the other side of the hook shank. Get fibers parallel, similar in length, then tie in the bow tie. Make sure you get the bundle centered on the hook shank. You can kind of tug one way or another to get it more centered. It usually only takes a couple wraps to get everything nice and tight. Once things are looking good, you'll often end up with a little extra dubbing after preening the fly a few times. Use this extra dubbing to make a noodle on the thread and wrap this around the lead eyes and below the hook eye. After a few half-inch knots or a few turns with your whip finisher, this will get the tying process pretty much finished. We'll cut the thread and get a dubbing brush to tame things out. I use a popsicle stick with Velcro on it for a gentle approach, but you can also use the loon dubbing brush to get more aggressive. This fly recipe tries to keep additional materials at a minimum to focus on the baling twine, but some brown hen hackle adds more bugginess to the pattern and can certainly be used. Here's the fly utilizing the Canadian Olive semi-seal dubbing. And here's the fly utilizing blue baling twine instead of all orange. It's fun to mix and match the twine elements. Here's a blackout variant using black dubbing, black bead chain eyes, and black flashaboo. This variant is a very clean tie. It has copper colored brass eyes, as well as a peacock herl flashback and a little bit of brown hen hackle. Once you have your fly tied and complete, don't forget to add a little bit of your favorite head cement. Overall, this pattern has attributes of the clouser swimming nymph as well as characteristics of the many crayfish crawdad fly patterns that are out there. It is very buggy, fish love to eat it, and it won't let you down. Thanks for watching, and good luck.